And it was Don who kind of pushed the button on me one night at a party when he said,
Dolores Hart was one of Hollywood's brightest young stars in the 1950s and early 1960s, admired for her stunning beauty, elegance, and undeniable talent. Born on October 20th, 1938, in Chicago as Dolores Hicks, she was the only child of actor Burt Hicks and his wife Harriet. Her parents divorced early, and much of her childhood was spent with her devout Catholic grandparents, who instilled in her a strong sense of faith. At the same time, her father's connection to the theater introduced her to the magic of performance. From the wings of his stage productions, she observed the rhythm, emotion, and dedication that went into acting. Quietly, she dreamed of a career in the spotlight, balancing her spiritual upbringing with the pull of fame. After finishing high school, she attended Marymount College, where she began taking small acting roles. Her natural talent, combined with a remarkable grace and charm, quickly caught the attention of Hollywood producer Hal Wallis. Recognizing her potential, he gave her the stage name Dolores Hart and opened the doors to a career that seemed destined for greatness. Within a few short years, Dolores became a rising star whose every move was closely watched by fans and the press alike. Her breakthrough moment arrived in 1957 when she starred alongside Elvis Presley in the film Loving You, Elvis's first color feature. Dolores played Susan Jessup, a kind and nurturing character who recognized and supported Elvis's talent. While her performance was commendable, history remembers one moment in particular. Dolores Hart became the first actress to kiss Elvis on screen. Though simple in the context of the film, this scene became a cultural milestone, drawing attention from millions of fans. Off-camera, she and Elvis formed a quiet bond, often reading the Bible together during breaks from filming. The following year, she reunited with him in King Creole, where she portrayed Nellie, a tender young woman whose kindness brought out the humanity in a troubled character. Critics began to notice Dolores not just for her beauty, but also for her poise, sincerity, and depth. Many even compared her to Grace Kelly, praising her elegance and acting skill. Despite this rising fame, Dolores Hart felt an emptiness that Hollywood could not fill. She longed for roles that challenged her, exploring the complexities of life and human emotion rather than the predictable sweetness often assigned to young starlets. Between 1957 and 1963, Dolores' career flourished. She appeared in films such as Wild is the Wind with Anna Magnani and Anthony Quinn, Lonely Hearts with Montgomery Clift and Robert Ryan, and Where the Boys Are, which became a cultural phenomenon. Each role showcased her versatility, moving from romantic comedies to more serious dramas that allowed her to display emotional range. Yet, while the world celebrated her success, Dolores grappled with questions about the purpose of her life and the emptiness she felt behind the glamour. Hollywood, with all its lights, applause, and parties, felt like a machine where she had little control over her own path. Every detail, from what she wore to the people she was photographed with, was managed for her, leaving her longing for a life that felt truly hers. A turning point came with her role as Street Claire in the film Francis of Assisi in 1961. While portraying a woman who gave up wealth and status to follow a spiritual calling, Dolores experienced an awakening. During filming in Rome, she met Pope John XXII, who remarked, "You are Claire." These words resonated deeply, sparking an inner reflection that would guide her life decisions in the years to come. By the early 1960s, Dolores Hart's career had reached remarkable heights. She earned critical acclaim, appeared on Broadway, and even received a Tony Award nomination in 1959. Fans adored her, studios vied for her presence, and she had the promise of a bright future in film. Yet, her personal life reflected a more complicated reality. Dolores had fallen in love with Don Robinson, a kind and steady architect who seemed to offer the perfect life of companionship and stability. In 1963, they became engaged, planning a future together filled with love, home, and family. On the surface, everything seemed aligned with conventional happiness, yet the call she had felt during her work on Francis of Assisi grew stronger and impossible to ignore. Though she loved Don deeply, Dolores realized that her true calling lay elsewhere, in a life of faith, prayer, and service. The choice tore her heart in two, forcing her to weigh worldly love against spiritual devotion. Ultimately, Dolores made a decision that stunned the world. She confessed her feelings to Dawn, explaining that she felt God's call to devote her life to religious service. Dawn, devastated yet understanding, did not object. In a remarkable display of support and love, he personally drove her to the gates of a monastery, allowing her to step into a new life. She left behind her engagement ring, glamorous wardrobe, and rising career to join the Abbey of Regina Laudis in Connecticut. There, Dolores embraced the austere but peaceful life of a nun, following the Benedictine motto Ora et labora, pray and work. She rose before dawn, prayed 8 times daily, engaged in manual labor such as gardening, milking cows, and making cheese, and dedicated herself fully to her spiritual community. Though she gave up worldly possessions, fame, and romantic love, she found a fulfillment that Hollywood could never provide. Her transformation was not merely a retreat, but a complete rebirth, leading her to take the name Mother Dolores Hart and eventually guide the Abbey as a spiritual leader. Even in the monastery, Dolores maintained connections to her past life in meaningful ways. She remained a voting member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, keeping a link to the film world she had once inhabited. In 2012, she returned to Hollywood for the Oscars to support the documentary God is the Bigger Elvis, which shared her story and was nominated for an Academy Award. She appeared not as a starlet in a glamorous gown, but as a nun, walking the red carpet for a cause greater than personal fame, the preservation and support of her abbey. Her personal relationships, including her enduring friendship with Dawn Robinson, reflected the depth of her character. Though she never married, their bond endured as a lifelong testament to love purified by sacrifice. Dolores Hart's life is now celebrated as one of extraordinary courage, devotion, and authenticity. Today, in her 80s, Mother Dolores continues to live at Regina Laudis, committed to the rhythms of prayer, labor, and community. She has written an autobiography, The Ear of the Heart, sharing her journey from a young Hollywood star to a spiritual mother and leader. Her life story serves as an inspiring example of following one's inner calling, even when it requires leaving behind wealth, fame, and the expectations of others. Dolores Hart's transformation from a beloved screen actress to a devoted nun remains one of the most remarkable narratives of the 20th century, reminding us that true fulfillment often lies not in the applause of the world, but in the quiet obedience of the heart and the pursuit of a higher purpose. Her life, spanning over 6 decades of spiritual dedication, continues to touch the lives of those who hear her story, offering a rare glimpse into the extraordinary power of faith, sacrifice, and courage. On Oscar Eve, a familiar face will appear on the red carpet, but this isn't a typical Hollywood return. She once kissed Elvis Presley, starred in hit films, and was hailed as the next Grace Kelly. Yet, she vanished from the screen more than 60 years ago. Where did she go? Why did she leave everything behind at the height of her fame? Today, we uncover the extraordinary story of Dolores Hart. Dolores Hart was born Dolores Hicks on October 20th, 1938, in Chicago. She was the only child of actor Burt Hicks and his wife Harriet. After her parents divorced, she spent much of her childhood with her Catholic grandparents. They taught her faith, discipline, and the power of prayer. But the theater called to her. Watching her father perform, she dreamed of stepping into the spotlight herself. After high school, she attended Marymount College and began taking small acting roles. Her natural elegance and talent caught the attention of Hollywood producer Hal Wallace, who gave her a new name, Dolores Hart. And just like that, a star was born. 1957 marked the start of Dolores' meteoric rise. She starred alongside Elvis Presley in his first color film, Loving You. Dolores played Susan Jessup, a wholesome young woman who recognized Elvis's talent. The film was historic for one simple scene. Dolores Hart became the first actress to kiss Elvis on screen. Off camera, the two shared a quiet friendship, reading the Bible together between takes. The following year, She returned with him in King Creole, playing a character full of depth and empathy. Critics began praising her sincerity and versatility, and comparisons to Grace Kelly started to emerge. Dolores' career continued to flourish. She appeared in Wild is the Wind, Lonely Hearts, and The Cultural Phenomenon Where the Boys Are. Each role showed her growing talent, but behind the glamour, she felt an emptiness that fame could not fill. Hollywood life dazzled on the outside, but inside, she questioned the meaning of it all. The endless filming, parties, and interviews left her craving something deeper. Her breakthrough role as Street Claire in Francis of Assisi in 1961 changed everything. While portraying a woman who gave up wealth for faith, Dolores felt a calling she could no longer ignore. Around this time, Dolores met Don Robinson, a kind and steady architect. They fell in love, and in 1963, Don proposed. Dolores accepted, and for a while, it seemed she might have it all: love, a career, and stability. She wore her engagement ring proudly and filmed her last movie, Come Fly With Me. Yet, the inner voice she had tried to ignore grew louder. The role of St. Claire, her visits to a monastery, and her spiritual longing pulled at her heart. Despite her love for Don, Dolores realized she could not live the life she was expected to. There was another path, one that would require everything she had to leave behind. Dolores made the hardest decision of her life. She went to Don and told him the truth. "I love you, but I feel God is calling me. I cannot ignore it." Don's response was extraordinary. Without bitterness or anger, he accepted her decision. He drove her to the gates of the Abbey of Regina Laudis in Connecticut. In that moment, Dolores left Hollywood behind: her ring, her gowns, her fame, and even her personal love. She entered a world of prayer, labor, and devotion, following the Benedictine motto, Ora et labora, pray and work. Her transformation was complete. Dolores Hart became Mother Dolores Hart, a nun devoted to a life of spiritual service. Life at the Abbey was nothing like Hollywood. Mother Dolores rose before dawn, prayed 8 times a day, and performed physical labor such as gardening, milking cows, and making cheese. The sparkling lights of the red carpet were replaced by the quiet rhythm of prayer. She renounced personal possessions, lived in poverty, and embraced the simple joy of community. Over time, she became a leader in the Abbey, guiding her fellow nuns as prior and spiritual mentor. Her days were filled with service, reflection, and devotion, a peace she had never known in the world of fame and film. Even in her new life, Dolores never completely left her past behind. She remained a voting member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, watching films and voting each year. She maintained a deep connection with Don Robinson, who never married and visited her every Christmas and Easter until his passing in 2011. Their love endured, transformed by sacrifice and understanding. In 2012, Mother Dolores made a rare return to Hollywood for the Oscars, appearing in her nun's habit to honor the documentary God is the Bigger Elvis, which told her story and earned an Academy Award nomination. She returned not for fame, but to support her abbey and share her extraordinary journey with the world. Today, in her 80s, Mother Dolores Hart continues to live at Regina Laudis, dedicated to prayer, work, and community. She has written an autobiography, The Ear of the Heart, sharing her journey from Hollywood star to nun. Her life is a story of courage, devotion, and sacrifice, a reminder that true fulfillment comes not from wealth, fame, or applause, but from listening to the calling of the heart. Dolores Hart's extraordinary transformation remains one of the most remarkable stories of the 20th century, inspiring generations to follow their own path, no matter how difficult or unconventional it may be. Life at the Abbey of Regina Laudis became the center of Dolores Hart's existence, a place where time seemed to slow and every action carried meaning. Each day began in the quiet hours before dawn, with the first vigils held while the world outside still slept, a stark contrast to the flashing cameras and bustling crowds she had once known. The rhythm of the Abbey was structured and deliberate, with 8 prayer sessions woven throughout each day, punctuated by work that engaged both the body and the mind. Dolores found herself tending gardens, caring for livestock, milking cows, preparing meals, sewing, and managing small administrative tasks for the abbey. These chores, humble and repetitive as they might have appeared to an outsider, became acts of meditation, grounding her in the simplicity and purity she had longed for during her years of Hollywood glamour. What had once been glamorous evenings filled with applause and spotlight became quiet hours of reflection, where the inner life took precedence over outward appearances. Dolores's transformation was more than physical. She adopted the plain habit of the Benedictine order, a visual symbol of her renunciation of wealth, fame, and personal vanity, and she embraced the community of sisters as her family. Over time, her natural leadership emerged, and she was entrusted with responsibilities that would shape the future of the abbey, guiding younger nuns with patience and wisdom, and helping to sustain the spiritual and material well-being of the community. Yet, even as she immersed herself in monastic life, the past occasionally resurfaced, not as a source of regret, but as a reminder of the journey that had brought her here. She remained connected to the world of film through her voting membership in the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, carefully watching each year's nominated films and participating in the selection process. This connection, modest yet meaningful, allowed her to honor her previous life while fully committing to her spiritual calling. Her reflections often included memories of Don Robinson, the man whose love she had left behind, yet who had never turned away from her. His devotion, spanning decades, underscored a love that had evolved into mutual respect, admiration, and enduring friendship. For Dolores, this balance between memory and present, secular and spiritual, became a lesson in harmony, showing that leaving one life behind did not mean abandoning it entirely. She also came to understand the profound beauty of communal living, where work and prayer were inseparable, and where each small act of service was a gesture towards something larger than herself. In the fields, tending animals or harvesting vegetables, she discovered a quiet joy that far surpassed any applause she had received on stage. In the silence of prayer, she found a connection to God and to her own heart that was deeper than any role or character she had ever portrayed. Over decades, the Abbey of Regina Laudis became not just a home, but a sanctuary where Dolores Hart's spirit could flourish unencumbered, where her choices were guided not by contracts, critics, or public expectations, but by faith, devotion, and love for the community around her. In these years, she nurtured both her own spiritual growth and that of her sisters, mentoring them through the challenges of monastic life and teaching by example the virtues of humility, discipline, and unwavering commitment. The life she chose was austere, yes, but it was also rich in meaning and purpose, a life that required courage, discipline, and sacrifice. By fully embracing her vocation, Dolores Hart demonstrated that the true measure of fulfillment lies not in the applause of the world, but in the quiet, steadfast dedication to principles, values, and love that endure beyond fame and fortune. Through the decades, she became a spiritual mother to many, a guide, a mentor, and a living example of how one can reconcile the glory of past achievements with the simplicity and depth of a life fully committed to faith. Even in her later years, her days at the Abbey retained the same rhythm: prayer, work, reflection, and the small, profound joys that come from service. She was no longer a Hollywood star, but in the lives she touched and the community she nurtured, Dolores Hart had found a fulfillment, peace, and purpose that the red carpets, cameras, and spotlights could never provide. Her story remains a testament to the power of courage, the pursuit of a higher calling, and the extraordinary human capacity to choose meaning over fame, devotion over comfort, and inner peace over outward recognition. Despite decades spent in the quiet of the Abbey of Regina Laudis, Dolores Hart never fully severed her connection to the outside world, nor to the arts that had once defined her life. Though she had renounced the spotlight, her passion for film and her commitment to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences remained steadfast. Each year, she carefully reviewed the nominated films, watching them with discernment and insight, casting her vote as a member of the Academy, a silent yet meaningful thread linking her past and present. In doing so, she honored the craft she had once embraced, acknowledging that while her vocation had shifted, her appreciation for artistic expression had not diminished. Her relationship with Don Robinson, the man whose love she had left behind to follow God's calling, also endured across decades as a remarkable testament to devotion, trust, and understanding. Though their romantic relationship had ended, it transformed into a profound lifelong friendship, grounded in mutual respect and unspoken admiration. Don continued to visit her every Christmas and Easter, faithfully journeying to the Abbey for decades until his passing in 2011, and Dolores was present in his final days. This enduring bond reflected not only the depth of their connection but also the extraordinary emotional intelligence and compassion that characterized Dolores Hart's choices throughout her life. Her ability to navigate the complexities of love, sacrifice, and duty became a powerful example to those around her, illustrating that leaving behind a conventional life of glamour and comfort did not mean abandoning human relationships or the capacity for deep, lasting affection. In 2012, decades after she had stepped away from Hollywood, Dolores made an extraordinary return to the world she had once left behind, appearing on the red carpet for the Oscars. Clad not in couture or the latest designer fashions, but in the simple habit of her religious order, she attended in support of the documentary God is the Bigger Elvis, a film chronicling her life and her remarkable choice to devote herself to God. The documentary was nominated for an Academy Award, and while her appearance drew attention from the media and audiences worldwide, it was never about personal recognition or vanity. It was a gesture of gratitude and support for the Abbey and the community she had nurtured for decades. The image of a nun walking among Hollywood stars, juxtaposed with flashing cameras and glamorous gowns, became emblematic of the extraordinary arc of her life, a visual representation of a journey that began with youthful fame and ended in selfless devotion and spiritual fulfillment. Beyond her public appearances, Dolores has shared her story through her autobiography, The Year of the Heart, offering readers a deeply personal and reflective account of the choices, sacrifices, and insights that shaped her life. In her writings, she emphasizes the serenity, discipline, and profound satisfaction that come from living a life aligned with one's deepest convictions. Through her leadership at Regina Laudis, she continues to mentor younger nuns, guiding them with patience, wisdom, and an understanding born of both worldly experience and spiritual insight. Even as she advanced in years, her commitment to prayer, labor, and service has not wavered, and her daily rhythm remains deeply embedded in the practices of Benedictine life, rising before dawn, engaging in 8 periods of prayer, performing manual work, and embracing communal meals and reflection. This life of devotion, while austere in comparison to her previous Hollywood existence, has offered her a profound peace, one that she has often described as the true fulfillment she had long sought. Dolores Hart's story has resonated far beyond the walls of the Abbey, inspiring countless individuals to reflect on the meaning of vocation, sacrifice, and purpose. Her choice to leave fame, wealth, and societal expectations in favor of